Welcome back to another video. I was looking at my back catalogue of videos, quite a few there now, and I realised I don't think I've ever done a video on Copa. Certainly I might have played the odd kind of match challenge or something on there, but I don't think I've looked at the course hole by hole. So I was debating whether to do high stats or low stats. What I thought I'd do is both. So I've actually done a round with my low stat character, that's this guy here, so this is Golfstar Dan. So I've actually dropped his stats quite a bit. He was on, I think he's on pretty much 2,800, so I've dropped a set of clubs and I've got a load of stats sitting there from resetting the stats. And if we'll have a look in here, there's a set of clubs I'm not even using, which would obviously bump the stats right up. So the idea is this is a low stat character. You can get this level of stats in quite a short time of playing, so I'm hoping you guys haven't got the massive stats. This is somewhere around your level or something vaguely achievable, as opposed to my main character who will be also playing. Sorry, have a look in the ranking. There he is there, which has got 4,400 odd stats, so the driving distance of 520 odd yards. Even 388, which the low stat character is seemingly unrealistic, but obviously pales into insignificance besides that. So what I'm going to try, which will be interesting to see if it works, is I've set up a couple of scenes in OBS, so we should find we get both. Yeah, so the main screen at the moment is my low stat character just starting off just on the career mode, and I've done exactly the same thing as Danny at the top right. So we'll probably focus more on the low stats. There's a bit more to talk about. With the high stats, I'm blazing it at the green. I think you'll see I should have aimed. I don't think I catch this quite right. Yeah, I catch it a bit off to the right, so the ball's kicked off over to the right, and therefore it gives us a little bit of a tricky putt. So with my low stat character, he's just basically, he's got enough to carry that bunker. This is from the second tee, by the way, so quite a low tee. So as Danny lines up his putt fairly well, just making some adjustments, Dan is going to play his flop shot in. So that's the low stats again in the main screen. So there's an eagle for my high stat character, and still 65 yards away with the low stats. So you get the impression of how this is going to work. The high stat character is going to be quite a bit ahead as well, but I think it's not too bad. I was going to kind of edit them to keep them, hole by hole exactly the same, but to be honest I couldn't be bothered, and it's not that far out, so we'll just put up with it. So high stats at the top there. If we just switch over as the other one loads, he's lined it up. This plays a little bit longer than you might think. There's a bit of a downslope leading into the green, so if you can drive the green, you want to maybe play it a little bit shorter than you think, especially with that tailwind. What you'll see is it'll bounce on possibly a little bit further than you wanted to. At the same time, low stats actually played a draw to get around that tree. As you can see, that tree isn't a consideration with the high stats. It's gone straight over the top of it, and not a bad line, a little bit long. Very easy to leave that short by dropping it any less, so not a bad approach with not a bad putt. So if we switch back to low stats, he's just playing a little chip shot in now. At the same time, Danny's putting his putt in at the top. And fairly safe chip for a birdie. So high stat eagle eagle, low stat birdie birdie, both on pretty much a perfect round. I'm going to switch back to my high stat character here because I've got a little treat. Well, a treat for me. It's the first time I've ever got a hole in one, I think, on a video game. I think I switched this down to a full sand wedge. Very friendly wind and pin for this. It's really just a full sand wedge, and the contours of the green, as you can see, very helpful, and the ball flies in for a nice hole in one, which again I think I've got one on the practice fields on I'm doing a walkthrough as one of the courses, but never in a vaguely real game, although obviously career mode. Different pin as the low stats. It was a trickier shot, much trickier, so very happy with that result. Simple tap input there. So we'll switch back to high stats, who's moved on to the fourth now. This is an albatross chance with these stats. No chance of getting anywhere near that with my low stat character. This is all about just catching the trees in front of the green, hoping not to hit a trunk, and catching the leaves there, which I do, and that leaves a pretty straightforward albatross putt. I can remember first playing this hole, having all sorts of problems trying to drive it up. If we switch to the low stat character there, trying to drive it up the fairway over to the left there. But what I'm doing here as the low stat, I think is pretty much the best approach if you can't drive the green, rather than try and go for the other long bit of fairway you can see in the distance there. You're much better served just aiming for where I put it there, which gives you a pretty straight shot into the green. And what I tend to do here is not play any high shot. I'll play a pitch if I can get the distance with my high stat character. But generally, the reason I would not play a high shot is just it's easier. We can just catch the front of the green, take most of the pace off it, especially with the pin that we've got there now. And even if the pin's at the back, I'll still not play a high shot, because I think it's easier just to bump it up onto the green and let the contours of the green slow it and push it over to the right. As you can see, there's a bit of a hill that will push the ball over to the right, so you can use the contours of the green to your advantage. So my high stat guy has just driven the green on the 5th. I think low stat can also drive the green here. Pretty much an impossible putt. In fact, I think you'll see I'll try and guide this, have a look at the guide and give up and try and chip it, and I think I missed that as well. It's a really, you've got to get over the top of this kind of hill that I'm kind of putting up and then down if you want to have any kind of decent putt, but it's really difficult to get it over and still hold the green. And I think you'll find I do exactly the same thing with my low stat character. I've played pretty much a full driver here, thinking that with the less loft it would push on a bit further, and I think it does push on a little bit further, but still exactly the same result really. Just haven't got over that hill and left a really tricky putt. I think low stat's got a better chance, but yeah, not really. So I mean, there's an example. I had a comment on one of the videos, the putting video, I think, some guy saying, well, anyone can guide and putt, any noob can guide and putt. Try guiding and putting these putts, you know, they're pretty much impossible. Well, I say that, you see people put these in fairly regularly, so there are better putters than me out there, no doubt, but there's a lot of luck involved in trying to put one of these putts in. So high stats onto the 6th, whilst Dan puts in his regulation birdie putt there. Now this one's just all about getting the bounce right. You want it to bounce right on the peak of where the fairway meets the green, just before it actually hits the green. If you do that, I've never seen the ball go off the back. So in fact I came well short there actually, but with a 3-wood, had a lot more loft, so it was able to bounce quite high and take the contours of the green to roll down. We'll just see what low stats is doing. I think he might be, yeah, I don't think he's actually got the power to make it. So that's just a full driver, not too far away there. High stats has got a fairly standard eagle putt, so we'll stick with the low statter here in the pink. I suspect that this is, yeah, I'm playing a flop shot here. Could play a chip. I just think a flop's a bit more controllable, a little bit more height. I think you'll see we'll miss this fairly comfortably anyway, but put it in range of a standard birdie shot. So high stats is on to the 7th. He's racing ahead a little bit. Now he's playing a pitch shot with a sand wedge, quite similar actually. The 2 par 3s here are both in range of a nice sand wedge pitch, which is the easiest approach. You've got lots of loft and it stops really quickly. So you'll see me play the pitch here, and if I go to low stats, you'll see I'm actually going to select, I think, backspin here with a 9-iron. A little bit of a tailwind, so I played a little bit short and just catch it around about the fringe area to leave a straightish putt. The green, if you leave it in line with the pin, is straightforward enough, but if you leave it way off to the left or right, you've got to deal with the slope, which is very much front to back of the green. So yeah, backspin shot as low stats and a full sand wedge pitch with high stats. End result's very similar. It's not too tricky for either character actually. A backspin allows you to hold the green. When the tees start getting longer, when you're playing the 4th, 5th, 6th tee, and you have to start playing a high shot here, it's really tricky. You've always got to try and catch something in front of the green to hold it, and it's very easy just to hit it a little bit too hard, fly off the back, or a little bit too soft and end up in the sand at the front. So high stats onto the 2nd par 5, the 8th. I seem to remember, looking at that now, I know exactly what I did wrong. I've lined this up, I've given it too much for the wind here. just a little bit further off to the right, and this would have been a fairly standard another albatross putt, but for some reason my mind wasn't on it. I think I remember looking at it thinking maybe I should adjust. And the thing is, when there's so much distance between tee and pin, it's in the air for so long, it's always going to take more effect, the wind. I definitely over adjusted there, leaving just a chip chance for the albatross, which I believe I missed. Let's have a look at low stats. It's a bit more interesting. What he's played is an approach 159 yards away. And if I remember rightly, I get very lucky here. I'm playing a full pitching wedge. With the low stats, the pitching wedge does still get a lot of loft, but I think we'll see not as much loft as I was hoping for, and that leaf comes into play, but it just makes it over or through or whatever, and actually leaves an eagle putt within a yard nearly. So obviously a great result there. So both got an eagle, and I think we'll see. I'm not sure. I think high stats is on, other than the fifth, 15 under with a high stats. Low stats is on 10 under. So similar shots, both will play here actually. No, I tell a lie. High stats is going to play a sky shot. So we shall watch. Well, you can see both obviously. This is high stats in the main window. So he's playing a forward high shot. I'm going to underpower it a little bit. Idea is catch the leaves, land on the green. And at the same time, low stats is actually sped a bit to catch up. Is going to play just a standard. I think that was probably a 2-wood, idea being pop it up and land on the front. Line was bang on, but not the length, just a little bit short. So high stats with a putt for eagle, low stats with a chip for eagle. So high stats actually, if I remember rightly, because I don't play Copa much, I think before this 16 under was my best round, so that's actually gone in the record books, but is pretty easy on the career mode. You never get wins more than 2 yards, I don't think, 2 yards a second, so you don't have to worry so much about the wind. As we see, low stats play a chip, which goes in as well, so 12 under for my low stat character and 17 under for high stats. So hopefully that'll illustrate a bit. You'll already know it's different, but I think if you're a low stat player, it might be illuminating to see how courses can play differently as your stats do increase. So you're not worrying about pars, you're worrying about getting birdies instead of eagles, or eagles instead of albatrosses. That's the big difference, certainly from the low tees. In fact, you're starting to see from the 5th tee now, I think the albatross is possible on the last hole, the last par 5 I should say. So yeah, very much it's the same game, but in some ways very, very different. So hopefully that's been interesting and illuminating to some of you in my first run round Copa, so I can tick that box. Again, I think I put my play out at the start of my last video. I'm going to put it out at the end of this one if anyone's still listening. I am very close, I think, within a week or so to being demonetized by YouTube. What little money I get, again, is not a huge amount, but I've had a great leap in subscribers since the last video. Thanks very much to everyone who has subscribed, but I'm still about 70 odds short. I think I've got about 923 last I looked subscribers. If you've got, if you're watching in a guild, anyone who watches my videos, if you feel like asking people to subscribe and have a watch, hopefully there's valuable stuff in here to everyone, for everyone. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, please just click the button. It does motivate us somewhat, although I have struggled motivating myself, as you'll see in my video count in the last couple of months. I do sporadically stop and start. I'll have very active periods and very inactive periods, but if you stick with us, there'll be valuable stuff coming out, and if you are subscribed, you'll get to see it as and when it's uploaded. And yeah, if you can pass on to others, it would be much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.